Been stacking up like I'm fundraising. Most people in my position get complacent.
Bands, 50 bands, 100 bands, fuck it, man. I'm trying to run through the budget.
Look around you. Look at this. We created this. This didn't exist before we were here.
You a thought. Has anyone ever called
Why'd
you a
you
thought?
say no?
Yeah, what'd I tell you?
What did you say to him?
You said that I can never let you down.
And to the rest of you, the non-believers, the underachievers, the tweet and deleters, you guys make me sick to my stomachs, fam. Honestly, if you guys want to look in my eyes, you guys want to do something? You guys, that's what I thought. No, that's what I thought.
If you're reading this, It's Too Late is Drake's quote-unquote mixtape that came out 10 years ago, and going back and re-listening to it for this 10-year album review, if I'm being honest, was kind of bittersweet. I feel like this was the last project where Drake was actively trying to be a great rapper, like a straight-up bar spitter. This was the last project of his career where he was like, you know what, I've shown that I can do this and I don't have to do this anymore. I don't only have to do this, but I've shown that I can do it. And for me as a Drake fan, I know it's hard saying that nowadays with how things are going now, but this is for me one of the more re-listenable projects for him. Now, if we talk about the production, it's kind of weird because there were a handful of genuine samples, but even with those thrown in there, they still fit. They still fit the body work. They still fit the project. They still fit the sound. Hella trap drums, but I still wish there was a little bit more variety when it came to like the hi-hats and things like that. But Boy Wonder, man, he should get a lot of credit for this project. He smoked the production, like 10 bands, one of the sickest beats, and any rapper that's worth anything would slide on that. It had a lot of the Atlanta trap sound that was big at that time, mixed with kind of that drowsy, underwatery sound that 40 and Drake had mastered up into that point. And if I had to pick like my favorite beats on this project, I would probably go with Used To and Six Man. Like, those are two of my favorite songs to hear Drake like rap on, or those two beats in particular. Speaking of the rapping, in 2015, Drake rapped like he was untouchable, because in 2015 he was untouchable. Like, he was becoming, if not he already was, a bona fide superstar. And it felt like he started to separate himself from other rappers. You know, rappers that I would have liked to have heard him rap with back then on this type of album would have been probably like, you know, Big Sean or Ross. I'm kind of surprised with how the album sounded, that there were no Atlanta features on this project. Like, this was, production-wise, it sounded very Atlanta. With some of the features, there's only a handful of them. Company for this album just doesn't fit at all. Like, Travis Scott is one of those artists where he's going to sound like Travis Scott on every sound or every album or feature that he's on. If it's not a Travis Scott album, he's still going to make it sound like a Travis Scott album. And that's kind of frustrating to hear him featured with so many other different artists, where it's just like, sometimes you don't need to bring your particular sound everywhere. It doesn't fit everywhere, and it didn't fit on this album. Drake and Party Next Door, personally, just don't do it for me. Preach and Wednesday Night Interlude kind of killed the momentum of what we were getting from the album, and I just didn't think it fit. Like, Drake was like, even though this was the album that he rapped the most, he still couldn't resist to throw that like R&B or like crooning onto like a legitimate rap project. Lil Wayne did his thing. Like, Lil Wayne is always going to show up on features for the most part, and Drake and Wayne are great together when they're like just locked in together. Like, that's one of the better combinations at that time and even still today. So I think the album could have did better as far as features and a little bit more variety. But overall, I still think to this day, like, this is the best Drake rap album that he has put out. It's going to be hard for him to top something like this. Hopefully he does, and hopefully he can kind of get back to doing something like this where he can just lock in and give us, like, 10 to 15 like rapping records with great production. Because if you tell me that Drake is going to be rapping and it's going to be fire production under that, I don't see why it can't be a classic. And if I had to pick an album in Drake's discography to deem worthy of classic status, this is probably one of the first ones that I'm going to mention. This album still stands up 10 years later, and if you haven't listened to it in a while, I'd give it another spin. Like, I know things ain't looking good for Drake right now, but if you're reading This Is Too Late, is one of his best projects.
Thanks for watching, babe. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel.